Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
I acknowledge the fact that as I start this Cut the Clutter, I know that far too many of you are far too angry with people like us, that is the media. You see us as scavengers, as vultures, as insensitive and just TRP hungry criminals in a way. And I don't blame you because that's the response any normal human being would have, seeing how so many hundreds of journalists with microphones, etc., and equipment pounce on Riya Chakravarti as she's being taken only for questioning, not even for arrest, for questioning. She's not a witch being led to the stake to be burned there for so many people to go and record that tamasha. It's not that. She's been called for questioning, but so many people, so many journalists who are supposed to give information to all the others, make people more knowledgeable, they are the ones who are throwing caution to the winds, risking their own lives in times of COVID by throwing out all social distancing, no masks, nothing, but also endangering the life of somebody on whose life they have no right. Riya Chakravarti is an individual citizen who has the right to life. But who is to ask the powers that be, and who is to ask the police and the law and order enforcement agencies? Those we'll talk about. So I will not hide from any of this. I will talk about some of this. But let me first try and declutter for you this story, because as I started reading up and following up, I found that there are so many layers to it, and so many layers have been lifted and discarded that by now, if you ask somebody who's been closely following the story कि भैया ये बताओ कि इसमें कितनी ट्विस्ट कहानी में अभी तक आए हैं और कितनी थ्योरीज आई हैं, I guarantee to you almost nobody will be able to tell you precisely. So I sought the help of Ananya Bhardwaj, who covers CBI and the agencies and the crime, etc. for us. She researched, I researched, then we put a few things together, and even then I suddenly realized that there is something which has slipped through even between us, and I will let you know what that is. So what you have right now classically is a situation called trial by media. Now trial by media also has a history to this. The first time this term was used, it looks like, was in 1967 when David Frost, the guy who used to conduct those really hard interviews on ITV, he was interviewing a famous or infamous insurance crook. His name was Emil Savonandra. So he was questioning him in such a hard way, in an accusatory way, that a debate started that this man is now being tried by TV. So trial by TV is how it started, and then it became trial by media. And we've seen many cases in India, from corruption cases to abetment of suicide cases to murder cases, where people have been pronounced guilty. That Arushi murder case, the Arushi Talwar murder case, is another one. It's one of the more recent examples. Irrespective of which side of the debate you were on, it was the media that convicted the parents much before any court did that. And before that, it was also the media which convicted the servant before any court had done that. In the process, whoever the murderer is has gone away clean. Now look at this Sushant Singh Rajput story. And I'm just counting the various theories and the various twists and turns, and once again, I am not guaranteeing to you that something would still not have slipped through the cracks, because so much muck has flown through this. So first of all, it started with KK Singh, that is Sushant Singh Rajput's father. He recorded a video clip in which he accused Riya Chakravarti of murdering his son by poisoning. TV channels immediately ran with it. They also said that, look, there are doubts about post-mortem report, because post-mortem report does not give the precise time of death. So there must be some hera-fairy in this. Then there were debates in various TV channels on the length of the ligature mark, or how the mark on the neck did not match the cloth that was supposedly used by Sushant Singh Rajput, or allegedly used to strangle himself. That mark did not match. Everybody became a forensic expert overnight. Then people talked about various injury marks on the body. Also, some channels said there was no financial crisis. If there was no financial crisis, why should someone commit suicide? I mean, rich, powerful, famous people have died by suicide. Suicide is a very complex thing. It is not just you fail in exam or you lose some money on stock market. It doesn't happen like that. In fact, if you look at the larger data of suicides in India, and I will talk about that, that tells you a very different story that we need to be sensitive about, not jump to conclusions. Then other theories came up. One theory said that his ligature was not oval shaped as it should have been. Once again, I've covered crime for a long time. I've never become such a good forensic expert as to be able to hold forth on this. Then some said that his spine did not show the deformity that death by hanging shows. Once again, that is not something I know, and that is not something that any forensic expert has as yet said. While this was going on, an FIR was registered by Sushant Singh Rajput's father. This FIR now does not talk of murder. This talks of abetment of suicide. It also says that Ria cleaned his son out. He took all his wealth. He was working spells on her. He made him believe everything was against him. Everybody was against him. That his earlier house was haunted. भूत था वहाँ पे, black magic. उसको वहाँ से भगा दिया. उसको वहाँ से भगा के she basically vacuum cleaned all his resources, including 15 crores from his bank accounts, and then left him alone. And poor fellow had no choice but to die by suicide. So a clear case of abetment of suicide. Then of course that FIR is quite colorfully written. It goes on to pretty much paint the picture of what you might call described as a wish kanya. Terrible. But the fact is that now the allegation is shifted from murder to abetment of suicide. Then while this is happening, a new debate pops up, and that is the debate or new theory on nepotism. That because he was from a non-starry family, because he didn't have the artistic pedigree but family pedigree, then other cliques in Bollywood turned on him because they wanted to reserve everything, keep all the spoils for the sons and daughters of famous old stars and cliques. And he was not part of a clique, so he was losing film after film. I mean, he was being victimized. Then Karan Johar's name came up. That was the next twist. That started with Kangana Ranaut saying that Karan Johar is the one who had victimized him, who had made fun of him in Coffee with Karan, etc., etc. So much so that Mumbai police then interrogated Karan Johar. Then it became a question of the entire Bollywood lobby of cliques, various cliques, which usually work in competition with each other, all getting together to target him. So in the process, some other Bollywood people spoke out. There was Abhinav Kashyap, Raveena Tandon, Shekhar Kapoor. Shekhar Kapoor also said that he had Sushant Singh Rajput come and cry on his shoulder many times because he was being denied these movies. And as this happened, he also said that he had lost 7 movies after signing. So Mumbai police again now got on to yet another trail, which is all these famous production houses, as if they were the ones all colluding to artistically strangle Sushant Singh Rajput, leaving him no choice but to end his life. First of all, the whole idea that somebody was left with no choice but to end his life, his or her life, is far-fetched. Suicide is a complicated thing, and more often than not, it is rooted in some mental health issues. That's a globally acknowledged, scientifically proven fact. People don't commit suicide on an impulse. And a lot of people, a lot more people are failures in life than there are spectacular successes. It's not as if people just go and when there is no hope left of success anywhere, die by suicide. Doesn't happen like that. Even animals, insects, nobody does it. And human beings are thinking animals. So in this process, Sanjay Leela Bhansali, Mahesh Bhatt, Aditya Chopra, Karan Johar, everybody was questioned. YRF, Yashraj Films was made to turn over all the contracts it had signed with Sushant Singh Rajput also. And once again, the story now began to pick up that there was 15 crores in his account which had been transferred to Riya Chakravarti's account. Now, all the investigating agencies together, including Almighty ED, have not yet said that they found any trace of that 15 crores. Riya Chakravarti, in her own interviews, has said that her account has no trace of that money, and also that Sushant Singh Rajput's account had never shown that money. So how did this figure of 15 crores come in? So apparently, as she claims, it was producer Bashu Bhagnani who had offered him a film, Sushant Singh Rajput, a film for which he had promised him 15 crores. Film wasn't yet done, money wasn't yet paid, and remember, these days, this money doesn't exchange hand in cash. Those days are gone in Bollywood because producers also raise money now. These things are done mostly by check. So even if that money was to be paid to him, there would be TDS, there would be GST. It's a complicated thing now. So nobody has seen that 15 crore go into any account or go out into any account. Now the post-mortem report came from Dr. R.N. Cooper, Mumbai General Hospital. They said asphyxia due to hanging. Now hanging can be by suicide, hanging can be by murder. I am not taking a position on that. But it also said there is no external injury. Now Dr. Sudhir Gupta of AIIMS is also giving his own view on it. He's an expert in forensic surgery. Then the new theory came that somebody with the initials AU. Now your guess is as good as mine in terms of who that is referring to. That is referring to Aditya Uddhav Thackeray. That there were lots of phone calls, 150 phone calls exchanged between her and Riya Chakravarti. Then there were 800 phone calls exchanged between Riya Chakravarti and Shruti Modi, who was Sushant Singh Rajput's business manager. 147 calls with Sushant Singh. Now, once again, how does it matter to man or beast, or any man or any beast, how many phone calls was made by somebody to in a certain period of time? But everything is used then to create this miasma of conspiracy. Dark conspiracy, jadoo mantar, murder, killing, etc., etc., etc. It all adds up to nothing. Then yet another theory came that Sushant Singh Rajput had had a fight with another film personality, Suraj Pancholi, who apparently, I don't know such things, who apparently is a buddy of Salman Khan's, and because Sushant Singh Rajput was very rough on him at a party, Salman Khan had called him and blown him up and screamed at him. Once again, whether it happened, it didn't happen. One participant in the conversation, if the conversation took place at all, is gone. Second, it leads to nothing. But once again, that became one more sort of conspiracy theory and insinuation. Then next conspiracy theory, that Sushant Singh Rajput used to write a diary, and then some pages in that diary was found to be torn. So who did it? Obviously, Mumbai police must have done it under the influence of the now evil Thackeray's, because they've broken away from BJP to protect some big wigs of Bollywood. Now, while this was coming up, Siddharth Pithane, who was Sushant Singh Rajput's close friend and also his flatmate, he said that he was often given to writing these pages and tearing them off. And we know many people who write their diaries do stuff like this. It means nothing. His brother-in-law, meanwhile, that is Sushant Singh Rajput's brother-in-law, he came up with yet another one. He's an MLA, BJP MLA from Chhatapur in Supaul district of Uttar Pradesh. He said also that Mumbai police had torn off these pages to protect key people in Bollywood. Once again, it led to nothing. Then yet another mystery emerged. This mystery was a woman still unidentified in a blue and white striped shirt who walks into the building, Sushant Singh Rajput's building, on the day of his death carrying a black bag. And she seemed to be talking with a man called Dipesh, who was house manager with Sushant Singh Rajput. And when she leaves, looks like the bag is not with her. Now, Dipesh has been arrested by the police several days back, or CBI, I presume in this case, and nothing has come out of this either. Now, if you now I have given you such a long story, and you must be already getting confused. So remember, I told you in the very beginning that this is so complicated that after so much research, also you tend to forget some of the twists and turns in the story. So I will tell you the one that I had forgotten. That was yet another suicide. That was Disha Salian, somebody who had worked briefly as a manager with Sushant Singh Rajput. Again, a young, glamorous woman. And then a theory emerged that she did not die by suicide, that she had been gang raped, she was pregnant, she was left no choice. I'm sorry to use that expression because that's how it's used, but it is reprehensible. But to die by suicide or that she was killed. That is in spite of the fact that her family, parents, police, doctors, everybody said there was no evidence of any rape, any pregnancy, nothing, that this was a straightforward case of suicide. Now remember, even we are forgetting that case while retelling the story because nobody is talking about that case anymore. That page also came up in the story, was taken off and again discarded in search for something new. Now all this has fallen by the wayside because you now have a story, it looks like, with the greatest sex appeal or the greatest TRP appeal. And what is that? You now have a witch, a good looking witch, Judail, black magician, femme fatale, somebody who took control of this talented young boy from distant Bihar and exploited him, took away all his resources, fed him deadly drugs, ultimately either killed him or left him in a situation where he decided to kill himself. Nobody has any evidence to substantiate any of this. And I don't hold forth on her culpability or her innocence. I know that every agency worth its name in this country, including probably that Manoj Bajpayee's mysterious agency from the family man, is now trying to find something against Riya Chakrabarti, including links with ISI and Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed and Islamic State, etc., etc., etc. But nobody has found anything. That is now the story. And this story has also moved into yet another universe now. And that universe is TV channel versus TV channels. So some TV channels now think that she is the murderer. They seem quite confident. They are accusing others of having shielded her. Those others have also committed the quote-unquote crime of having interviewed her. How do you interview? How dare you interview the central character in a story, huh? And when she doesn't come to us for interviews. Now, this is obviously nonsense. But while this goes on, it's also true that many of those channels which are now feeling like victims because they are being attacked by the Riya, the witch, the murderer, etc., etc., etc. school, they are also the ones who stole WhatsApp chats between Riya Chakrabarti and Mahesh Bhatt, perfectly innocent sounding WhatsApp chats where one is talking to other in a perfectly avuncular manner. And these were made out to be some kind of conspiracy or some kind of hera-pheri. So everybody has done. इस गंदी गंगा में सबने हाथ धोए, इस मैली गंगा में. And that is why now you have a situation where a man has died. Before that, another woman had died. No connection between the two. Nothing has happened in any of those cases. Two families are destroyed. Sushant Singh Rajput's family, because he was the most important member of his not very wealthy family. And second, this middle class family from Bombay, the family of former Army Lieutenant Colonel, a former Army Surgeon Lieutenant Colonel, that is Riya Chakravarti's father. Nobody guilty has been caught. No guilt has been established anywhere. The only reputations which are ruined today are of Riya Chakravarti and her family without any evidence. When there is evidence, we'll see what happens. And most importantly, reputations of the news media, especially television media. And we'll pay for it because people are watching and people are getting furious. Now, having said that, in just 2 minutes, I will tell you about suicides in India. You know, when a celebrity dies by suicide, it becomes a story, etc., etc., etc. But India last year, 2019, the data has just come out, recorded 139,123 suicides. That was up 3.4% over the previous year, that is 2018, 134,516, which itself was was about 3.5% more than the previous year, 2017, that was 129,887. So if you see carefully, the number of suicides in India as a percentage is rising 3 times as fast as India's population is rising. That may also be a case of, it can be a case of stresses. It can also be a case of better reporting in India's policing system. So a lot of people do die by suicide in India. Once again, if you look at all those, and I don't want to count all the methods of suicides, although the largest percentage is by hanging, that is 53.6%. This is the National Crime Research Bureau data. The fact is that family problems, marriage problems, illness, etc., etc., all together add up to about 49% of all of India's suicides. The rest come from elsewhere, and that elsewhere is widely presumed to be mental illness. So the big guilty party in this situation is mental illness, and that is something that in India we don't like to accept. Families don't like to accept it, because how could their kid be suffering from mental sickness? There is stigma to mental sickness. Also in the media, it is seen to be as end of story. So nobody really wants to go into mental sickness, but that is the biggest cause of suicides in India as well. And finally, this whole idea of abatement of suicide. So I checked with Bhadra Sinha, who heads our legal section, legal journalism coverage section, and she tells me that there is almost no case of an abatement of suicide, that is section 306 IPC ending in conviction. And I can quote you many stories like that. There is a story like that Gopal Goyal Kanda, the Haryana minister, who was named by a stewardess. Geetika Sharma used to work in his airline. She killed herself, but also wrote a note blaming him, right? He was arrested, nothing happened after that. Couple of years after that, even her mother, Geetika Sharma, died on 5th August 2012. Her mother, Anuradha Sharma, killed herself on 15 February 2013, just a year later. And she also wrote a note blaming the same Haryana politician. At that point, after great drama, that politician surrendered. He had to resign as a minister. But where is he now? He is now out on bail. 2014, he got out on bail. He is now an MLA, a very valuable MLA in a divided house. And the BJP government gratefully accepts his support, because BJP doesn't have enough numbers. So that is how difficult it is to punish somebody for abatement of suicide in India, given how the case is and how the case law is. Having said that, once again, let me go back to where I began, which is trial by media and its dangerous consequences to somebody who might be innocent. So there is a story which the same colleague of mine who's helped me with research today, Ananya Bhardwaj, had broken at the print, and I will share a link with you. You can see that. And this is the story of a man called Sarabjit Singh in Delhi, who was accused by a woman called Jasleen Kaur for sexually harassing her while driving. He faced a criminal case for 4 years, lost his job, his life was ruined. Finally, he was acquitted as completely innocent. But the fact is that his life was ruined, 4 years of somebody's life, that too in one's youth. And think of the stress not just on the person but the family, all those who matter to him, etc., etc. What happened was that this woman posted a clip claiming something, and then a lot of the media immediately declared him guilty, a sexual harasser, a rapist, or whatever. No different from what is right now being done to Riya Chakrabarti. So remember, just because we have the media with us, we have this power. This power has to be used very, very, very carefully. We have enormous power to help people. We also have enormous ability, unfortunately, to harm people. So we should not do anything that ends up harming anybody, even halfway innocent. Innocent and guilty is something for the courts to pronounce, not us.